Georgia Bazin here in the Flow of Life community with the beautiful Marnix Pauwels, which I probably pronounced incorrectly.
Yeah. It's
How do you
completely off. No, it's fine.
You see, this could be what this conversation is like for the next however long.
Yeah.
And it'll be perfect. So, Marnix is a coach, as many of you know, based in Amsterdam, who likes to roam the world on various tickets to wherever they happen to appear to come up in. And he's kindly joining me today. Hi, Marnix.
Hey, Georgia.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I was thinking about when I got my coffee, when I went to the store to get my coffee, I was thinking about this topic of creativity. And I realized that it might be helpful, in the beginning of this conversation to get like an idea of what that even means, and if we agree on that. Do you have a personal, spontaneous definition for what creativity actually means or is?
Life arising and coming out in whatever form that it is in the moment, really.
So why even call it something like, because when you call it creativity, now you kind of single out, you make it into a specific thing, but what you're telling me is like, well, it's actually this. Right?
Yeah. But I guess for how I see it and how you may see it, and I'm sure you'll tell me in a moment, maybe more easily understood with a word of creativity. And I guess the exploration is, what does that, as you're saying, what does that mean for me? What will it mean for you? What will it mean for anyone? And what do we see in it?
Yeah.
So what does it mean to you?
Well, I think when I think about it, and then I can think about it in the way that I believe that most people think about it, as some sort of an activity of production, creativity, as like you have there's nothing and now you have something, like you're making something, like something is
a product,
whatever. Yeah, something has either through your hands or your head and your hands or your feet or your elbows or whatever you use to make stuff. So creativity seems to be this capacity to make stuff that wasn't there before, right? To make it appear in any kind of form, which makes it completely universal, big, and unfathomable, and something you can't even discuss because now it becomes so big. But I think for most people it's about more things like paintings, music, books, writing, poetry, pottery. I think for most people that is what creativity is about, like coming up with solutions or coming up with stuff that we like to look at or like to be engaged with. So I think that's because it's so broad and so small at the same time. It's a difficult thing to talk about because, you have many people who say that I'm not creative. And then depending on the definition of creation, that is absolutely bullshit, or they're right. In the sense that I can't make paintings in a beautiful way. And maybe they can if they keep going at it and try for 15 years and take lessons and whatever. But you obviously had an idea about creativity before we started this conversation, because otherwise it would have been a topic with no feet, no hands, no solid ground.
Yeah, no.
So, let me ask, maybe maybe this is easier. Would you say that I'm a creative person?
Yes.
Okay.
You sit in, as I see it, you let the creative force of product arrive in you, or through you, I think is a better term for that. Because you have the inspiration to create whatever it may be, and you'll take an action based on that, that then, as you say, something comes out of it, which is the, I guess, the human side of creativity, as opposed to, so the physical form of creativity that arises in us, as opposed to, when you asked me originally, what does creativity mean? Everything is creativity. Everything coming into form that we have nothing to do with. Inspiration is creativity. Creativity is inspiration, one and the same thing. Did that make sense? Maybe it didn't, maybe it didn't. It did to me.
Yeah, it does make sense to me, but I wonder if it's helpful for people watching this. So how can we, what could we do to make it a little bit more practical or tangible for people?
So tell me, how do you experience what comes up on the page for you?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I would be like a dramatic creative teacher, like the worst in the world. And I can tell you about because this is how I see it. I have no clue, Georgia. I don't have a fucking clue, like not the tiniest bit of an idea of how this works or how it happens. And everything I say about it's bullshit. When I was in advertising for, and I'm not saying this to be smart, it's actually my experience. So it's how it looks to me. When I was in advertising as a copywriter, I earned my money by writing stuff, obviously, and coming up with creative ideas and concepts for brands. And because I am instilled as a person on earth, I've been instilled by an obsession with specific things, and then I have this deep drive to become better at it. And I had that with writing, like commercial writing. So I have been obsessed with writing for decades, which obviously paid off. I became pretty good at writing in a specific way. But the thing is, because I became very good at writing, I completely forgot what it means to be writing, or how writing works, or where it comes from, or what the whole... I didn't know anything about structure, because structure was in the creation itself. So when I was invited by clients to teach their staff or their personnel to write, I could never do that because I didn't know how. I don't know what I'm doing. And maybe that's creativity, like, you know, when you come to, or at least that's what makes creativity so magical for me, is, and maybe this is in a way, without knowing it, an answer to your question, actually. What happens during the moment of creativity, or how does it come about, or how does it feel? It's like I just sit, and I'm sitting like this, and then something will come, and I don't know where it comes from. So sometimes I walk around because I write so much, I have this knack for seeing topics. That's just what happens when you write blogs, or when you write columns, or stuff that appear frequently. You kind of develop this way of looking at life and seeing things, and then seeing them as as a potential topic to write stuff about. So that's what I do. I see topics in everything.
Yeah.
I can look in a garden and see a cat, or I see the idea that there was a cat, or maybe there's no cat. I don't know, but I have 5 different stories already. So I think creativity just is the first, the thing. I just sit. I never have writer's block. I don't even know what that means. Writer's block is, to me, just overthinking, like wanting to go from nothing to brilliant and then realizing that that's impossible. That seems to me like that's writer's block. And that's just not how it works, you know. When you write a book, you start with nothing and you just keep writing, and then eventually you have a book. Now, that might take half a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, doesn't matter. So what has happened to me is, because I've been writing so much and I've been blessed with a very specific curiosity about life, it's the most effortless thing in the world for me. Like, and it kind of, it's my way to lift my mood even, you know. If I'm in a shitty mood, I either coach or I write, because when I do that, I kind of forget about the shitty mood and I'm back again. So maybe creativity in that sense of being fully inspired is just about presence. Let's bring in that word. And just, when I hear myself say all this, it's kind of sounds like so much bullshit, by the way. Like, ugh. But, you know, whatever. We are creating a conversation just the same. And maybe there's something in there that's helpful for people. But you know me a little bit, and you know that I'm not the guy from the listicles and the bullet points and the things, simply because being a human is such a sloppy, messy event, that I simply don't believe in mastering it. I don't believe in... We are not logical creatures. We can read a blog and then be inspired, and then 5 minutes later something happens, and then we completely forget about the blog, because then now we have life, and now life has replaced the good feeling of the blog. So I have no... And I've read thousands of self-help books, of course, like most spiritual seekers.
All of us, yeah.
And it seems to me that I'm on this this quest for simplicity. That's the word that keeps coming up, and it also, even in advertising, when I had to make a newspaper ad, when there were still newspapers still mattered, and I had to make a newspaper ad, and I had like 4 words for the headline instead of 8 words. I liked the fact that I wasn't allowed to say that much, and then to use less words, to say at least as much as the people who used 8 words. So I've always been interested in how can I shrink stuff in order to make it more impactful. Can I get rid of shit that doesn't matter, that's not useful. And it seems to be that when I'm 54 now, it seems to be that I'm now on a point where many things are so simple that they become scary, because the mind doesn't like simplicity at all. Yeah. Mind thrives on complexity and new problems and tomorrow and around the corner and what if and blah, 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 blah. And then when you get a real sense for the absolute, utter, direct, powerful, authentic simplicity of life, of the fact that stuff just happens. That's it. Like, just imagine if everybody saw that, you would have one book, one course. And there were so it's good that it's not that we don't all know this. Obviously, it's life is good in a general sense, But I didn't know that simplicity actually would turn out to be weird. It's just, you have to get used to it. But it's like, it's weird. What?
What do you mean weird? I mean, I so get what you say about craving simplicity, because it's an imagined place of far more calm. And I mean, you'll tell me whether that's a case or not, but I know when things look simple, everything's easier. Everything is experienced easier.
Yes.
For me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That is my experience too. And there's the mental activity, and there's the habitual grasping, predicting, worrying. It's we're so used to doing that when it kind of loses its breath or its fuel or its reason to keep doing it, it's kind of confusing. Like, okay, so what's left now? And the thing is that this simplicity doesn't really feel like it doesn't feel scary or naked or empty or dull at all. It's weird. These things are so weird. Like, why are some people more inclined to make paintings and other people are more inclined to earn money? Well, because. And life is for me, this looks more and more like that. Like, why? Well, because that's what it is.
Oh, it's interesting because, sorry, you're talking, I had an insight a couple of weeks ago about ego and the fact that was just a concept of me. So it changed radically how I saw me.
How you saw you.
Yeah. In other words, what I guess we would talk about kind of as what I've heard is the kind of concept of ourselves, all the made up stuff about how we are, etc. And I've got quieter, and there are so many things that have lost that desperate feel that we have about I have to be this or I have to be that. And I found it interesting that having sat so long with that undercurrent of why isn't this, why that, why the other, that calm, that simpleness is a bit like, oh, I don't know what to do now. Should we fill this with something else? Or maybe we just shouldn't. Because it's so easy to fill that back up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what I realize more and more is that, when I'm sitting here right now and we're having this conversation, there have been like millions and millions and millions of moments in my life that I thought were really important. There's literally not one of those is present right now. So it's this really weird thing where we feel that when we're in it, it's incredibly important and essential and crucial. And then there's the next thing, and the previous thing is immediately gone. And the simplicity kind of seems that, I think what you're describing is spot on, because we're not used to not having to do anything. And it doesn't even mean that you don't have to do anything. It's like, simplicity doesn't mean like you have to sit on a rock all day.
No.
It just means that it seems to mean that layers of commentary kind of drop away, or you're in something, but you're already 5 things further along the line. So the simplicity is also less distraction. It's just like, it's here. It's not spectacular at all, but it feels kind of safe and it's as a coach, you know this obviously when we talk about like presence and consciousness and stuff like that. I've talked about it millions of times about that stuff, and I love doing it. I love it. I could do it all day long. And why do I love it? Why do we love that?
Prolific though. You are prolific.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Why do we love that? Why do we love doing that? Why do we love talking about something that is so abstract? Why do we love talking about love? And I've never found a definition about love that seems logical, that seems to work for me. So what does it even mean? Well, that is life. The thing is even the complexity, the layers, the all the things that seem to be going on all the time, they can also be acknowledged from simplicity. That's weird. Like, let me give you an example of what I mean. Is that around the corner of my house there's a school, and there was this huge blown up photograph on the wall of the school on the outside, and there was this caption written by some of the students, like a 13-year-old girl or something. And the caption was, and it was a photo of the street. In a photo, different things can happen at the same time. And I thought that was so incredibly deep, because it's one thing, right? It's one photo.
Yeah.
But and that's also the simplicity of what I experience is there's only life going on. The layers, the details, the intricacies, the problems, they are cut out by the mind. And simplicity kind of means that your mind sort of stops doing that, and then it's more like an ongoing event. That's not even an event, because where does it start and where does it end?
Yeah.
And this is extremely abstract. And if you're in a shitty position right now and you have to pay the bills and you feel depressed, this probably sounds like spiritual masturbation. Like, yeah, so give me practical stuff. Give me stuff. I get that so well. Yet, when I work with people and they come in, either in the Zoom conversation or we go for a walk or whatever, and they come in and they are worried and they have like the weight of the world is crushing them. I used to follow them in their agony, in their misery, and then there were 2 lost people.
Yeah.
And what I've seen now is that the obvious thing is that when you kind of get out of the energy of the problematic things that are going on, you kind of settle down again, and it always works. Like, there's no exception. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that now all of a sudden your bills are paid. But what it means is that you kind of get a new leash on what you could do about it. Or is it really that bad? Because right now I'm 54. I've had very many moments that I couldn't pay the bills, but it always happened anyway. Right? But it looked like you wanted to say something, or you
no.
saw something.
it's always true that I had a girlfriend that I was talking to yesterday, and actually a post came out of it last night from the point of view that she was talking about a situation that's occurring in life. And that was actually just all it was, a situation. And as we were talking, I heard more but, This went on and on and on. And at the end, I just said, do you know how many times you said but?
Mm.
And the minute the fact that she was going with the but, any clarity, any possible solution, any inspiration, creative, whatever you want to call it, around that situation went straight down to shit creek. Because none of that even existed. So you're saying, in coming back to this is a situation.
I'm not even saying that. I'm saying that situations don't exist.
Sorry, yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's lifing.
Well, and I'm saying that knowing that this might upset people, and it's not a play on words, it's actually true, like, you know, and this is not something you have to try and force on yourself. This is just a sense that I'm having. Obviously, I call things situations and events. Like today, I'm meeting my daughter. Now I have a situation. But when you look at it from a distance, when does it happen? When does it start? Does it start the moment she enters the door, or when she left the house of her mom, or this morning when she woke up, or whatever? So situations are like things that are cut out by our mind, and then get, like, we give them some value, which they don't have intrinsically. Now, do we have to pay bills and take care of our leg when it's on fire? And yeah, of course. And when our house is infested with rattlesnakes, might be helpful to get a rattlesnake man or woman. But the thing is, making things into situations and events and problems kind of clogs the capacity to come up with stuff, or to even to catch our breath again. And this is a very hard conversation, because if you don't get the subtleties around this, it just sounds black and white and fucked up and stupid, and like you're a fucking asshole who just doesn't get how difficult it is to be a human being, right? And I get that too.
You're talking truth. And this is why, I mean, I love talking to you, even though I think I've said to you before, you ruffle my feathers so beautifully sometimes. But of course, inevitably, wherever our feathers are being ruffled is inevitably, or possibly, or as I see it, where we get a resonance of truth. But what we've created is something different. But when we are on the edge of uncomfortable, that's possibly the edge where we sense there's something so much more available to us. Or that's only how I see it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you how I see it. So I get that, and it sounds comforting and soothing, and maybe, you know, in that way it's very valuable.
It's interesting. I don't know that it's comforting and soothing. It just seems to be what it is.
Well, it's just meaning making that you're doing, and that's cool because that's what we do. But it's also bullshit. And that's the thing. It's appreciating the narrowness of the human experience while kind of knowing that it's not really very as much deeply true as it looks like it is. Let me give you an example of how this looks, how this is experienced right now here. This person that is kind of in front of my experience, by the way. It's like I'm looking at a person more than I'm being a person, to be honest. But I was a couple of months ago. I was in the park. Because it was really good weather for such a long time. I was laying in the park and I was listening to an audiobook, and it was about consciousness, and I obviously I gobbled that shit up. So I was listening to it. Yeah. Oh yeah, Rupert Spira. Yeah. Muji. Yeah. Oh, give it. So I was listening to it, and then it was like, I think chapter 8, and this woman, she said, when we're young, we learn to suppress our emotions, and then they get stored in our subconscious. I was like, yeah, huh? And I realized, I don't know. I don't. I can't. If I try to find or to analyze my experience, I can't find those things. I can't find old emotions. I can't. I've been taught to look at it that way. That's why it makes sense. We always, yeah, trauma, yeah. Now, I don't want to be dismissive, but it's just my experience right now. It's that, like, the only thing I can experience right now is seemingly looking at a screen, hands doing stuff, voice blah, 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 saying things, and you're listening. And that's even, that's conceptual. So this is like, I'm once again, one more caveat. This is not me trying to be a smart ass. This is 100% my experience. So I was lying in the park. I was like, I don't know. What is my subconscious? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've learned to think about it. I've learned to give it a place in my worldview. But what do I know? The only thing I know is that there's something going on. That's the only thing I know. The rest is just memories and ideas and stuff that that are in my mind, and sometimes not. That is also simplicity. Like, what is left? All these things, all these popular spiritual quotes, like, oh, as soon as you know that you're not your thoughts, everything changes. No, it doesn't. Life just goes on. It still sucks. All these, and that's life, obviously. We love quotes, and we love chopping up things, and we love methods and steps and things. But life is a fucking mess, and it's a beautiful mess. And sometimes it's not a beautiful mess. And that is the feeling of simplicity is, oh, if I chop off my mind and I put it in a drawer, what's left? Well, no subconscious stored emotions or whatever I've learned. What is left? Do I know that the world is, that the earth is round? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't. And then it's like, okay, what do I know? Well, the only thing I know is that there seems to be, I don't know, that something is going on right now. Something is happening. I know that. And it doesn't feel too bad. So that's what I meant in the beginning, is the confusion around this simplicity is like, oh fuck, if all I've ever learned about life, and I just assumed that it's true, which is helpful. You know, I'm not trying to deny those things, because it's helpful to have rules and all these things, obviously, in the human perspective and in the human experience. It is. But it's to me, it feels like I'm living somewhere in between being the universe and being a human being. And it's really fucking weird. I don't never feel like a person. I don't. It's weird. It's weird. And but life's still behaving through me as a person, so I'm fine most of the time.
Difference between so you don't feel like a person now.
No.
So can you put something around that to how it felt when you felt you were a person? And
I've never felt like a person. That's that's what was so confusing. I've never felt like a person. Maybe that's why I drank so much. Maybe that's why I was depressed so much. And there was no answer to my predicament, to this vague sense of not knowing what I am. The thing is, once you kind of get a sense of the only thing that never goes away, consciousness or conscious awareness itself, it kind of doesn't really matter whether you're a person or not, because it's just experience going on. So I feel still connected, of course, to the body, and that's good, because then I can, wipe my ass and stuff like that, important stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not. There's not this tightness around defending the personality or something like that. That is kind of going away. People worry about all these things that I kind of see from a broader perspective, and I don't want to. That's not an achievement. I don't see it like that at all. It's not like, hey, look at me, woo, I'm unhuman. No, it's. I think I'd rather be a human, because it's really convinced that I'm a human, because it makes it more concrete. And for me, I'm floating around a little bit, which kind of feels good. So maybe it's bullshit what I just said. I don't want to be a person, but I get it that it sounds ridiculous when I say it, but it maybe everybody feels like this, by the way, but we don't acknowledge it.
Well, it's interesting because I've had a couple of times recently where I've kind of, living life and all sorts of, different emotions or different whatevers, or just stuff comes up, and I go, I wonder, as you just said, I wonder if everybody does this. And I just make up that I'm the only one that feels this way. Mm-hmm. Because that's what our mind kind of likes to do, doesn't it? That makes us special, different, odd. And I know when I had moments of pre-knowing stuff, my mind, so I'll have a sense of whatever it may be is going to happen, and it does. The Georgia here, whatever you want to call it, really loves that it turned out what her intuition or her knowing or whatever she saw was. Mm-hmm. Because it likes to be that each one of us is special in our...
No, well, I think that what you're just saying is that, of course, the mind likes that, because it's an acknowledgement of its power and its clairvoyancy. It's like, and if it doesn't turn out, we forget about it. That's the very practical bias we live by. This is the thing. We know that after reading 500 self-help books, they probably don't help as much as we thought. But we always buy the new one. That's the thing, and it seems to me that waking up to the game is like seeing that and having the option to stop doing it. But then again, that's bullshit. I don't know. We have no options at all. It's just happening. This is just happening. This is just an event. And it seems to have, sometimes conveniently looks like we knew what was going to happen. Most of the time we don't. And we simply forget about that. That's the thing.
Yeah. But it's so fascinating watching this want to play out in it all.
It is. And it's totally fascinating. Why am I doing this? The more you get a sense of this, the more you see that this is merely just a bunch of impulses. And the cool thing is that part of the impulses is the idea that we are angels and light beings and that we have previous lives. It's all there. So somehow, if that's played out for you, well, that's important to you, and you can believe it and you can feel it. And it's just as important as somebody else wanting to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. It doesn't really mean anything.
Oh, no.
But it's
not football.
But the thing is that we can get lost in anything we get presented, and it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's a mess. It's a total mess, and it's a beautiful mess, and it's a mess that doesn't seem to be a mess. It's a mess where it seems to be responsible, and we have to make choices, and it's all really important that we make the right choices. And every time I ask a person, do you know that you will die in a couple of years? Do you know how fucking unimportant all this crap is that you are worried about right now? And I know that they know, and I also know that we don't work with that. We don't give a shit, like, yeah. But this is very important, and now he's on my parking space, this fucking asshole. That's the cool thing about being human, is that we don't realize these things that are so obvious and so rich, and they could change our lives. We don't see them. Why? Because the mind doesn't want to see them. It wants to create problems.
Oh, well, of course, and it's fascinating from the point of view that as the battle that our mind will put up, the distraction, the absolutely everything to not be seen for how it plays and how it creates is again just gobsmacking.
Mm-hmm. And it's exactly how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to not see it because that's the only thing that makes this illusion real. We need to believe that everybody knows. Every like a person who is interested in how we evolve from after our birth knows that in the first couple of years we have no clue what the world is. We don't think we think we are a body because we have to learn to be a body. So it's amazing how we start out. We start out so free, and then when we learn about life, it becomes so much more caged in and suppressed. And what it looks like to me that the game for the humans is being born in freedom, carrying it around, losing sight of it, traveling the whole world looking for freedom while it's under your arm, trying to find it in whatever we can think of. Literally everything can be used as something that propels us, forward to look for the freedom we already have, and then somewhere along the line we kind of sheepishly, if we're lucky, we find it back. And this is obviously just some kind of explanation that is coming through me right now that somehow makes sense, but it's all made up. Everything is just stories. It's just stories. Everything is story, and I have a story, and you have a story. We were in London at the same time, in the same car. It was very hot. Can you remember?
I remember going round in that.
Yeah, and then you had this parking space, and then the road towards the parking space was like it was opened up, and they were working on it, and we had to make these circles. And I remember that you said like something like "sorry to fuck up your morning," and you remember that, and then I said, "Well, you didn't, because this is my morning."
Yeah.
That right? And
yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
So.
But of course, that's my imagined morning.
Well, there was no parallel morning where that was better.
There was only that morning. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that's what I'm saying, is that now you don't even have to agree with it. You're like, but this is how we live. We live mostly in a world that is not the world that we live in. And then we compare the world we live in to the world we want to live in, or we should live in, or we're supposed to live in, or we have to live in. This is why when I read a person say, like, be the person you're supposed to be. It's like, what? That's not a thing. Every second of your life is exactly how it's supposed to be. Now, can you change? Of course. Can you change into a version or into a position that life seems better and more awesome and you whatever have stuff? Of course. But the whole idea of not living the life you're supposed to, it's just bullshit. It's just made up. That doesn't exist. But this is the world of self-help. We fall for this shit. Why? Because most of us think our lives are miserable.
But I have to say, I mean, someone, a girlfriend of mine said to me a little while ago, she said, love doesn't give a fuck. And I can remember being like, oh, okay. But actually, what she was pointing towards, love, whether you call it love, God, life energy, I don't care what name you give it, life. Doesn't give a fuck, doesn't care what we do, what we don't do, what we experience, what we invent, what we don't invent, because all it's doing is doing itself.
Yeah, but there's no life. There's no life in us, Georgia.
No. But that's why I'm talking about we as it as us, life.
Yeah, so there's no entity that can give a fuck.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to point towards. It is just, we use the words, so often that life has our back. Life cares about us. Life, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is again creating that illusion of separation.
Yeah.
When we use that wonderful phrase, look inside, and this, I think, one of the biggest misnomer of expressions, because people go, okay, so what's in here? Which is, this is just biology. So I think this words are fucking amazing, but also so misleading.
Yeah, well, they're restrictive and they're utterly lacking in real quality. But it's what we have.
Yeah.
And things like life is our back. It's just, of course, it's bullshit. It doesn't. It's not that life is not an entity that loves us. That's just people making shit up to feel comfortable, which is cool. But it's the same like you have to be aligned with life. Like, what? No, law of attraction. No, you have to be in life aligned with your purpose. That's not a thing. It's not it doesn't exist. That's an idea. You cannot be aligned with your purpose. There is no purpose. Purpose is just some romantic notion that we can have about life. Now, can we believe in purpose and feel enthused by it and infused by it? Of course. So in that sense, it's amazing. But it's just bullshit. It is bullshit. But it's cool bullshit and it's awesome. And you can write books about it, like 100 books. You can make courses about it. But we cannot be the universe. We cannot be life. We cannot be. This is everything already. It is already everything. This is life playing a game, and we don't exist apart from life. So the whole idea to please life or to ask it for stuff, We don't exist apart from life. So asking life for stuff is ridiculous. That's life asking itself. Right?
There isn't all these wonderful books that you and I have piled up on shelves everywhere.
Yeah.
That's just life exploring.
Yes. Yes. So it doesn't bring you anywhere because where do you have to go?
It's just play.
Well, and the thing is, it seems like that this is one of those fucked up things when you read about non-duality mostly. What I've done a lot and studied non-duality a lot is, that's non-duality, not two. It's just a complicated way to say that everything is one. Yeah, Advaita. That's so funny that you have, in non-duality, you have different schools. Like, how ironic can life be? Like Advaita, non-duality, talking about oneness, and then have schools fighting each other about who is right. So that is the amazing thing, and it's just playful stuff. When I say it's bullshit, I'm not trying to diminish it, but that's not true. We can believe it into reality, and that is amazing. In that sense, everything is valuable. Like 2 years ago, I was for half a year, I was completely indulging myself in near-death experience videos and books. Completely, I had to know, and I had to. Why? Because in my story, I had one. I drowned when I was 5 or almost drowned. And I had this experience. And then I felt I had to explore it. So I did. And it was interesting. And I loved it. I loved the stories about, people floating above the operation beds and then being connected to and then going to this field. And then there was this and they saw the, now, if you ask me, I don't know. I don't. So and I've had this over and over and over again. I fall in love with something and it's like, oh yes, this is my thing for the rest of my life. And then I wake up in the morning and it's fucking gone. It doesn't interest me at all. 3 principles, non-duality, all these things, helpful, cool, nice, soothing, sweet, awesome. And then, well, sometimes after a while, you're kind of like, you lose interest. And why? Why? Because I'm not graduating the life school.
No. It's just what it is. Moment by moment.
It is. And what it is also hating that sentence very much. That's
I know.
Also,
I guess
it's not what I do, but I get it. I understand it that people fucking hate it sometimes. It is what it is. Yes, but I don't like what it is. I get it. I often don't like what it is. But that's also just what it is. You can't win this as a human being. But it's amazing, and it's amazing. It's just cool that we can kind of believe in that we are important or not important, or that we are like living there and now we don't like the people who live there, and all of that is amazing. Just the amount of diversity that is coming from all these ideas we have is so cool. And nobody knows. Nobody in the whole fucking world knows. The Buddha didn't know, and he had to use words to and then everybody said, "Enlighten me." And you know what he did? He picked up a flower and he held it up. And there was one monk who said, "Oh!" And most people were like, "What the fuck is she doing with the flower?" And then it was like, and then very smart people thought about it, like, oh, Buddhist Zen smart people, like, oh, yeah. Well, what he was referring to was the nature of life. It's just like a flower, and the flower doesn't give a shit. It's just a flower. And then if you realize that, we're also just flowers, and we're all just growing. And the only thing is that we have minds. And then our minds are very full of themselves and they feel like they influence things. And if they don't, they have reasons for that, why it doesn't work. So we kind of chop ourselves off. We have nature, we have weather, we have animals, we have mountains, and then we have people. And they're two different things. And everything just happens, but we don't. No. We do stuff. We have willpower, we have ambitions, we do stuff, we can change stuff, we can call in the law of attraction if we want to. And if it doesn't work, we didn't try hard enough, even if we try for a year. And that's amazing. It's amazing how fucking arrogant the mind is, and how much drama and but also cool things that delivers. How we have everything in the world, from literature to racism, right? I obviously not saying that racism is cool. I don't agree to that, but it's there. Why? Because we have minds. That's why racism is there. But that's also why, like, complex calculations are there. That's why we have Wi-Fi, and that's what it's. So simplicity is not trying to solve that or understand it or get it. It's just like, it's like watching it and like, oh fuck, that's cool. That's simplicity is. And from there, stuff obviously happens, and then you have creativity. It's like making very crooked bend back to the...
All of that, literally all of that is just all creative. It's all just creation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not a case of coming back to a point. That's all you've been pointing to the whole time.
Yeah. It is.
That's how I have it.
Yeah, so it's ultimately bullshit to talk about it, but it's very cool to do it. Right? It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't lead to anything. Nobody will get any sense of practicality out of this conversation because it's all over the fucking place.
Do you know that?
Do I know that? Of course I don't. I'm just saying it. I don't know why, because it happens. I know nothing, Georgia. I mean it. I know nothing. I'm just happening. I'm just talking. I seem to be a person who likes to talk. I seem to be a person who was a drunk for a very long time and who now is a coach. I seem to be a dad. All these things that are created in consciousness, and now I seem to play that person, and I do it with much gusto and a lot of love and a lot of inspiration and a lot of confusion. And I do nothing. All of these things, I don't do them. They are just done. I am done. You are done. This is done. You don't even exist. I don't exist. And still we're talking to each other. Hey man, what the fuck? Talking about creation.
It's like sitting with the whirling dervish. You're bloody marvellous.
You think we're done?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I may need to go and sit in a darkened room for a while.
I think you do. I'm going to have a fried egg. So, hello people. Nice that you've been watching. I hope you have...
It's Marnix. What's your website?
Marnix.nl, Marnix.coach, Marnix. Look me up on Facebook, Marnix.nl. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's my thing. Simplicity is my thing. So if you're interested in simplicity, you know where to find me. And if you don't, well, put some effort in it, for fuck's sake. Have a great day, Georgia. See you later. Bye-bye.